So my name is Celia Baril, and welcome to the Bachelor of Science and CSU and OWIC. So for many of you, that will be the third day, I think, that you've been OWIC'd, and that's a really busy week, a lot of information, and I'm sure your head is about to explode, and we're going to put some more in your head today, especially during the two hours that are coming now. But we have a camera crew who is recording this presentation, so that's going to be very useful for you to be able to refer to, and because you probably won't remember everything that I'm going to tell you, and that is fine. So today we have you guys as internal students, but the reason why we are recording as well is that we have a lot of students doing the Bachelor of Science by distance education studies. So hello guys, and that will be a really good video for you to watch and to be able to meet some of the staff that will teach into your majors later on. Okay, so there are 7 majors in the BSc, and they're written here. So we've got a chem major, plant science, conservation biology, spatial science, microbiology and immunology, physics and mathematics. As well as the 7 majors, we have 9 minors, and they're usually the same as the major disciplines. Except for plant science, we do not have a minor. Microbiology and immunology is split halfway and gives us a micro minor and an immuno minor. And sitting under the mathematics discipline, we also have an IT minor and a statistics minor. All right, so what does that mean? We have heaps of different disciplines, but as Gavin mentioned, you are within the School of Ag and Wine Science, but not all your majors and minors actually sit within that discipline, within that school. So these are the schools that host each of the majors and minors. So in our school, School of Ag and Wine Science, we have the analytical chemistry major and minor and the plant science. But biology and spatial science is hosted by the School of Environmental Science. Micro and immuno is hosted by the School of Biomedical Science. Physics hosted by the School of Dentistry and Health Sciences. And mathematics and IT and stats minors are hosted by the School of Computing and Mathematics. If we go a bit further at the top, you'll see that not all these schools even sit or belong to the same faculty. So most of the schools are part of the Faculty of Science, but we also have Computing and Mathematics that is part of the Faculty of Business. So why am I telling you this now? It's just that it is actually quite useful to understand where the disciplines sit at the university, and the impact that will have on your studies. So the impact is not major, that's small, but that means that not all your lecturers will be in the one building. Not all your lecturers will be on the one campus here in Wagga. They're actually spread between Wagga and Albury, and some will be even in Bathurst. So that impacts on where the subjects are offered from. Sometimes the staff, the lecturing staff, will travel to Wagga to teach you. Sometimes, if you want to do it fully internal, you will have to travel to another campus. Okay, we'll talk about that a bit more later on. So the main difference, or the main the important point to note here is that environmental science is located on the Thurgoona campus, so that is in Albury. Okay. In the biology major and minor, Bio 100 and HRT 202 will be taught from Wagga. The other subjects are taught from Albury. Okay. We'll talk about the implications of that a bit more later on. What that means, as well as having different campuses and where the subjects are offered from, is also that we just need a bit more time to organize things and communicate information to you, okay? So I'm the one coordinating all that, and I deal with each of the disciplines within each major and each schools and faculties, okay? So we're just not going to be able to provide an information straight away. I'll have to check with a discipline sometimes, with a different school, different faculty, but then I will communicate that information to you. Having different schools and the fact that you guys will all be doing a different combination of major and minor, and the combinations are endless really, means that you will not always have the same classmates. In fact, most of the subjects that you will study will be studied by students in other courses that are not BSc courses, okay? So that can be a bit destabilizing for students because they feel like they're not part of a community or a group, but that's where I come in and I'll try to get that community together. So we'll get to catch up every now and then and make sure that, you know, we are a family, sort of, okay? The one subject that you will all start with and where you'll all be together will be Sci 101, what is science? So it's an important subject because it will teach you about, it will give you skills that you will use in your other subjects later on, your other science subjects, but it also is a good subject because that is the one subject where you're all together. And you're starting off and then you will all go different ways, okay? Every now and then you'll meet some of you guys in some of the core subjects. So you might catch up in STA 201, which is your statistic core subjects, okay? All right. Another detail about our majors is that our analytical chemistry major is accredited by the Royal Australian Chemical Institute. That means that it is professional recognition by the industry, the RSCI body. I'm mentioning that here because that has an impact on the size of the major, okay? And we'll talk about that on the next slide. Okay, so a bachelor, any bachelor that you would complete at uni, or at least at CSU, is 192 points. What does that mean? That is the maximum number of points, or the number of points that you have to complete to get a bachelor. Okay, there are other requirements that you need to meet in order to graduate from the BSc, and we'll explain these. Points come from, each subject is worth points. So usually a one session subject is worth 8 points. If you have what we call year-long subjects, so over 2 sessions, they're worth 16 points. So in a bachelor, you will need 24 subjects. Okay. So in your Bachelor of Science, you have first a major, and it is between 64 to 96 points. Most of the majors are comprised of 8 subjects, except the plant science major, which is comprised of 9 subjects, and the analytical chem major, which is comprised of 12 subjects. And that is due to our accreditation by the RSCI. So you need to pick your major. You need to pick your minor, and a minor is 32 points or 4 subjects. And then you have your set course. These are subjects that you will all be doing, and you cannot not complete them. 4 of them. Then you have what we call breadth course. So these subjects, 2 subjects, are aimed at giving you breadth in your degree. Okay, so of course you will have a major and a minor, but we want you to also know about what's, you know, outside your major and your minor, so that you have a good breadth of knowledge across science. Okay. To obtain that breadth, obviously your breadth score cannot align with the disciplines of your major and minor. They have to be outside of these disciplines. Okay? And once you have your major, minor, set course, breadth scores, you will also have a bit of room left for electives. So if you're doing the analytical chem major, you will have 2 electives left. If you're doing, say, a conservation biology major, you'll have 6 electives left. Okay? Just want to say here, the aim of this slide is not to look at, to be able to read the subjects, it's just to look at the structure. Okay. We'll talk about how to use your electives in a minute, but they could be, say, complementing your major and minor combination. They could be in the same discipline as your major, same discipline as your minor, completely outside of the Faculty of Science. You know, you could be looking at, say, ethics subjects or journalism or media. The subjects in your major and minor have to be followed as they are written on the handbook. Okay? You can only deviate from these lists upon approval by myself. So you have to talk to me, and you need to have a pretty good reason as to why you want to change a subject. Okay? These subjects for the majors and minors have been put together by the disciplines so that they are relevant and current to what you need to know in the discipline. Okay? All right, Gavin was talking about Interact2 sites, so I'm not sure whether you've had a chance to look into this, but part of what we're going to do today will be showing you how to navigate these sites. It is a new interface communication system for us, so we're also learning how to navigate these sites. This is where all important information is located, and that is true of your course site as well as your subject site. So we expect you to read all the information that are on these sites. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to show you, we're going to do it together so that you know how to use them. So I'm actually going to log onto your student homepage. All right, so have you all seen this page? This is your student homepage. So you access it with student.csu.edu.au. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll find here in the middle this link, Interact2 Dashboard. This is where you will find all your Interact sites for the course as well as your subjects. The ones for the course have a C in front of it. C as course. You will only have the Bachelor of Science, and you'll see that you also have your subject Interact2 sites which start with an S. So click on the course site, and if you haven't looked into this site yet, you really need to do so, say this weekend. All right, so I'm on student preview mode, so that means that we're looking at it with the way you guys will see it. So to start with, there's a welcome. Importantly, there are information on how to contact me. So the email address, and I would have interacted with most of you by email already. The email address is cdsos, and that is course direction. And SOS stands for School of Ag and Wine Sciences. Okay? This is where all our student inquiries are centralized. And each of you get a folder as soon as you email me, and I put all the files and all our exchange in that folder. I had a look at the number of users of the I2 site and worked out there were about 240 students. That's a lot of students. So that means any year, first, second, third year, any majors, any version of the course. We also look after double degree students, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Teaching. That's a course that is not offered anymore, but we still have students in the course. Okay, so 240 students and counting. That means that I do get a lot of emails, and that also means that I will need a bit of time to get back to you. Okay, so if I haven't got back to you within the day, no stress, I will get back to you eventually. Phone number, you're welcome to call me. Again, I might not be in my office, so just leave a detailed message with your full name, student number, and the nature of your inquiry, and I'll get back to you, often by email, because that's just easier for me. I'm located on the Wagga campus, and I'm just next to the Ag building, so I'll show you that at lunchtime. And you're very welcome to come and have a chat with me. I have an open door policy. The only thing is I might not be in my office when you just come unannounced. If you want to see me for sure, schedule a meeting by email, and that is the best way to do. All right, intro to the BSc. This is what I've just talked about with that diagram and how the majors and minors sit. So it's just a repeat, but that's written. Now you have course community, and that will be something that is common to your subject I2 sites. Very important, you have announcements, and this is the way, this is the mean that your lecturers will use to communicate with you. We expect you, so these announcements are emailed to the email address that you have provided CSU. If you do not get announcements, then there's probably a problem with your email address, so you need to make sure that it is the correct email address in the system. I've already posted 2 announcements, and your lecturers and myself, as your program leader, expect you to read these announcements and be aware, because that is the only way I can let everybody know in the course of a change happening about a subject, about a get-together, about something that is not working. So often it will be about an issue in your course. Okay. One thing here, have you guys been told about my degree planner? Do you guys know about it? It doesn't work for the BSc. So don't use it. That will create headache. There are just way too many combinations of majors and minors and requirements for the Bachelor of Science, and it just cannot cope. What you need to use is the spreadsheet that I have asked you to fill in, most of you, and if you haven't done that yet, that is okay. I'll show you today, and you can do it later on. All right, so you can see here I have already posted an announcement about something that will happen in session 2. So I try to let you know as early as possible. Okay, not all of these information will concern you. For example, if you will never do MCR 101, which is Introduction to Microbiology, it will not concern you. But I expect you to read it just so that you know in case that concerns you. Forum. This is where you can post questions that are fairly generic about, say, a subject, or when is that subject offered, or I'd like to do, I don't know, this later on, and do you think that would be a good subject? These are questions and answers that I will provide, and that you guys can provide as well, that will be useful to a lot of the BSc students, okay? For inquiries, very, very specific to your course, then your own personal course, then it's best to email me on CDSOs, all right? You'll see that there is an old Interact 1 thread, and we have just carried across all the discussions that we had in the previous Interact site. That is something that does not concern you because you are just starting your degree now, but that is something that year 2 and year 3 BSc student will like to refer to every now and then. Okay, there is a calendar. And that calendar, I'm still trying to add a few things in it, but there will be important dates such as census date. You all know what census date is. That is the last day to drop a subject, so that if you cannot deal with the workload, you don't end up with a fail or have to pay for that subject. Okay, so very important date. See, I have put all week here for you guys. Last week there was what I call the all week for DE students, but a lot of the internal students came. That was the Getting Ready for Science workshop. I have already put in get together in week 2, March 10, because I think this is a really important event. So I hope I'll see you all there, and I'll put an announcement about it just to make sure that you guys all come. All right, so just have a flick through, and that's a nice way to be able to find a date. But of course, on your student homepage, you have a important dates link that you can refer to. Contacts, admin staff. So we have Jan, the courses director, who spoke this morning, Dennis Chaplin and Catherine Bly, who are more course administrators. Mostly it will be me interacting with you by email and phone, but if I happen to go on holidays, they will take over and answer your inquiries. And Dennis handles any forms that you will have to fill in for your subjects. That could be, say, waiving a prerequisites, or transferring a subject if you have done previous studies. And for new students coming that are doing already a course here at CSU, that could be a course transfer, because they're really keen to come and do the BSc. As well as the admin staff, we have the major and minor disciplines. So as well as being your program leader and looking after the course in general, I am also a chemistry lecturer. And so I look after the analytical chem major and chem minor, and I'll have you guys in the chemistry subjects. And I've started adding the names and contact details for the other disciplines, so that if you have a question about a subject, or what can I do, okay, I'm doing a bio major, but what can I do after I graduate with bio major? These are the people who will be able to answer these questions, okay? Now, if you want to know about how to take your subjects, sequence, and all that, that is me. So course structure is me. These guys are more to, you know, enthuse you about the nature of their subjects and what are the career prospects. Soon, well, coming soon, I hope, we'll have a career link. Well, I'll put links so that you can have a look at news and current topics in your major discipline, but also career options and job ads. All right, we're going to skip the first two in course information, but we'll get back to it. So useful course links, and they are very useful course links. First is the course handbook, and you have to learn how to use these. The course handbook is the official document where everything, all the requirements, lists of subjects about the BSc are listed. So I don't expect you to read that right now, but if you have to refer to a you know, a requirement, say, about your electives, this is where it will be written. All right. And then you have the list of the subjects for each major and minors. Okay, so this is the official document. Now, I've simplified the work for you because I've put all this really important information into a spreadsheet. The other important link is what we call the SAL, Subject Availability Listing. How do we use the SAL? Say you want to look for a chemistry subject. So I'll type Chem 104. This is the first chemistry subjects to do in the Chem major. And you can't remember when it's offered, which session, so I'll just put a %. Percent means that you just open it to all options, okay? But I just want to know when it's offered in 2015. Okay? Now, the information that I find here is that, well, it's only offered in session 1, that is what 30 means. If it's session 2, it is 60. And if it's session 3, it is 90. Now, not many of the science subjects are offered over the summer session, and the reason for that is because, as our head of school mentioned, we are doing research in the summer session, so that's why we can't teach as well. Okay, some subjects will be offered, some bio subjects are offered, and math subjects are offered over summer. You can see that I have 3 returns for Chem 1A, and 2 options are internal, 1 in WAGA, 1 in Orange, and 1 is distance from WAGA. So that means that you could be completing Chem 1A internally from the Orange campus or from the WAGA campus, or you can do it by distance, and here you have what we call residential school, and it is compulsory. So the D students enroll in the subjects by the distance mode, and if they have a res school, they will have to come to the campus where that is listed here to complete their res school. And often at the res schools, that is the practical component, the lab work that they will complete. You'll find that even though you're internal students, some of your subjects will only be offered by distance, okay? That means that you may not have, you probably won't have face-to-face lectures or tutorials, but you can still go and have a chat to your lecturer, okay? So that is a good way to find how your subjects are offered, the mode, where from, and also whether they have a res school. If you are doing a subject by distance, and there is a res school, you have to attend the res school. Not attending the res school will mean that you will fail the subject. So that's why it is so important. I had a few other subjects to show you, just to show you the diversity. So I'm going to do a math subject, say MTH 219. Okay, here there's only one offering. It is offered in session 2 by distance from Albury, and there is no res school. So that subject will be essentially taught online. I'll do another one, Bio 112. This is Principle of Ecology in the Bio major and minor, offered from the Albury campus. You can see here it is offered in 2 sessions. That means, say you have a clash, you can't, or for some reason you can't complete the subject in session 2, you could complete it over summer, okay? So that's a good way for you to be able to, say, lighten the load in session 2 and then complete that over summer, all right? But as I said, not many of the science subjects are offered over summer. All right. Next link is the subject handbook. And this is where you find information about what the subject is about. So if I just, so you can just type, say, so if I just type the discipline code, I will find, well, all the chemistry subjects as well as any subject code that has these 3 letters that I've typed. So I want information about, say, analytical chemistry. I've got a bit of an abstract. This is fairly short. Learning outcome syllabus. This is very short, probably not a good example. Importantly, on the subject handbook are the prerequisites. Do you guys know about prerequisites? Yeah. Yes. So prerequisites are the subjects that you need to have completed so that you can enroll in the follow-on subjects. So here for analytical chemistry, you need to have completed Chem 107. Until you have completed Chem 107, you will not be allowed into analytical chem subject. Okay? So this is the information that you should look at on the subject handbook. I'll get back to it. For your electives, if you're not sure what subjects to complete, you could just have a search, say I want to do accounting subjects. Just use keywords. And here you will have all the subjects that are accounting related. Okay, so that's a way as well to search for subjects. If you know that you absolutely want to complete, say, a biomedical science subject, you could type BMS, which is the subject code for these subjects. Okay, and it will return all the BMS subjects. All right. Next link, very important to you, is the internal timetable. I don't know if you've started using it. Yes, so you can just go into subjects, and I was showed a trick last year. So you could have, say, let's say you're completing, where is it gone? You're completing ACC 200, which is probably accounting. And so I'm using random subjects here just because that's going to be easier for me. And ACC 331. If you hold the Control key, then you can select your 4 subjects, and that will give you the timetable with all 4 subjects. So let's try that. Hopefully that works out. All right, so here you can see you have a clash, okay? And there's a good reason for that, is that you should not be taking these 2 subjects together, okay? So on your timetable, you'll find your lectures, your tutorials, and the pracs, okay? There may be several sessions for the pracs. In particular, you most likely only have to attend 1 per week. Which prac session you will go into, that is for your subject coordinator to let you know. If you have clashes of compulsory items, so pracs and say a compulsory tutorial in another subject, you need to talk to your subject coordinators as soon as possible and try and work something out, okay? You can call me, but I'm not going to be able to do anything apart from saying contact your subject coordinators, okay? So I'm sorry if you have clashes. We try to avoid these, but due to the number of combinations in the BSc, that is something that unfortunately sometimes we cannot avoid, okay? Now, if that clash, there's no options for that clash, then yes, contact me and I'll work something out in terms of the sequence in which you will take your subjects, okay? All right, just want to make sure that I mention everything. Oh yeah, we had a look at prerequisites on the subject handbook. You will see every now and then assume knowledge. Assume knowledge is a bit like a prerequisite. That means that you're supposed to know the content of that assumed knowledge, but it will not prevent you from enrolling into the subject, and your lecturers just assume that you have covered the content. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you have covered the assumed knowledge, and your lecturers will not spend time covering that assumed knowledge. So that's why when I do enrollment patterns, I try to take these into account as if they were prerequisites, because otherwise I think it's not very fair to you guys, okay? Of course, if there is an unavoidable clash, then sometimes we might have to skip that assumed knowledge, all right? Res school timetables. So again, even though you are internal BSc students and on the WAGA campus, there may be some subjects that you have to take by distance that will have a RESCOL. So this is a really good link which will show you the RESCOLs of all the subjects that are offered this year. And they give you the exact dates. And so in that famous spreadsheet that I'm talking up from the beginning, you will have to add the dates of the RESCOL just to make sure that there's no clashes. So for example, here, say for some reason you cannot attend the pracs for Bio 100 because you have a clash. Okay, you will be able to complete that subject by distance and complete the pracs at the RESCOL. Okay, if your subject coordinator is happy with the option, you may only have to, you can remain as enrolled internally and only have to complete the pracs at the RESCOL. Okay, RESCOL occur during the mid-session breaks. So if you guys have no RESCOLs, you will go on holidays for 2 weeks, and as lecturers, after having taught you for 6 weeks, we will have the distance education students coming, and that's a very intensive period of time for us. And then you'll come back and you'll say, how was your holiday? And I'll say, oh, I didn't have a holiday, and we'll keep going for another 6 weeks. All right, so if you think your academics are busy and only come for an hour to teach your class, this is incorrect. Of course, all this information that I'm telling you is recorded, but that's also on a frequently asked question that is on the left-hand side menu. Before we go to that FAQ, there are also other links here that you may find useful about assessment policies. Student Central, if say you should be enrolled in a subject and it's listing on your transcript, then contact Student Central if you want to know about how to pay, how to do, not sure, book an appointment with a support team. Call Student Central. Okay, they have all the knowledge more than me about that. All right, so the FAQ. Read this. This is really important. If you have a question, most likely the answer is in this page. There's a lot of the things that we have covered already. What electives should I take? What is points, prereqs, assumed knowledge, and so on, and how do I find info about subjects and all that, and I refer to the useful course link. All right, plan your course. This is the really important bit. So a bit of guidelines, and we'll skip this because I'll be talking about it, and the famous spreadsheet. All right. So that's a really useful tool that has been developed so that every major has a tab and has already all the subjects listed, and that's from your course handbook. It has all the sessions of offering, and that's from the subject availability listing that I've showed you. And it also indicates whether it has a RESCOL. Okay, so if you're doing these subjects internally, you won't have to do the RESCOLs, but you know that it exists. And for these students, that's very important information. So all the links that I've showed you, it's important you know how to use them, but I've already put all the information from these links into that spreadsheet. So I've done about, I'd say 80% of the work for you. The only thing that's left is, well, for you to complete these subjects and do very well, and also try and map your subjects, the sequence of subjects, okay? As an internal student, you're studying full-time, except if you're working. If you're working at the same time, it might be a good idea not to do 4 subjects, especially if you have really workload. Okay, it's okay to only do 3 subjects a session or 2 subjects a session. It's better to only do 2 subjects and pass them than to have 4 subjects, be completely like drowning under the workload and not coping at all. Okay. If once you have your major, and you'll see here I have also added the prerequisites and assumed knowledge. So really all the information is in there. If you scroll down on each tab, then you have the list of minors that you can complete. Okay, so of course for the analytical chem major, the chem minor will not be listed because you have to pick a minor in a different discipline. What you do, say you want to do biology, you just select the cells, copy, and paste, and there you go. What's left is now to select your remaining electives and your breadth score. Okay, so just add the information onto the spreadsheet. So for example, yeah, I'll do micro 101. I know it's offered in session 2, and I know it has a rest goal just in case I need to say do the rest goal if I'm doing distance studies. Now the Y's in all the cells, I say, indicate when the subjects are offered. So as you plan your enrollment, well, Sci 101, I said that's the first subject you have to do. So there you go, it'll be done in 2015 session 1. You will do Math 101, Chem 104, and get started on your minor. Okay, so that's how you use the spreadsheet. Use color coding. I'm really into color coding. Use that because it makes it really easy to see when you will take your subjects. Some subjects are offered in 2 sessions, like STA 201, and you'll see that when there's a red triangle, just hover on the cell and it tells you a bit more information. So for example, for STA 201, it is best to take it in session 2 so that then you do not leave too much of a gap with STA 308, for which STA 201 is a prereq. Okay? So just have a look at these, and for example here, Math 101 says, well, it's either offered in session 1 or session 3. Okay, so maybe you will complete it in session 3 if that works best for you. Okay, it's what works for you. I think that's about it for that spreadsheet. So have a look at it, fill it in, and as you go in your studies, update it. And when you want to contact me about, say, subjects, attach the spreadsheet to your email so that I know where you're at. The last resources that I want to show you is the enrollment pattern. So I'll show you conservation biology. And the pattern's based on a full-time study, so 4 subjects per session. Okay, so that shows you when to take your subjects. So start with Bio 100 and Sci 101, and then probably start with your minor, and then do an elective or breadth score. All right. So as an intern or student, that will be a useful resource for you. I think I'm done with that site. Map your degree, your entire degree, as much as possible, especially distance education students that are doing, say, 2 subjects a session. It is really good to try and map as much as possible so that you know when you will take your subjects and you have a plan. Okay, that plan might change, but it is good to plan as much as possible. Some subjects are only offered every 2nd year, and that is the case of the stats subject offered in the minor, and it is indicated in the spreadsheet. So STA 347 is only offered in even years, and STA 427 is only offered in odd years. Okay. Subjects that start with a 5. So, you know, you have the discipline code, and then you have 3 digits. The first digit means it's the level of your subject. So, Sci 101 is a first-year subject because it starts with a 1. STA 502 is a level 5 subject, and the level 5 subjects are normally only used in postgraduate courses. So as an undergrad student, you will not be allowed to enroll in these subjects, but you need to contact me and I will ask student admin to enroll you manually if it is part of your major or your minor. So that will only happen for the stat subject, and there's also a spatial science subject that is at level 5. Any questions so far? So I can quiz you and you'll remember everything. Yes?
Cheeky.
I know.
It's cheeky, isn't it? I can read that perfectly. It's so clear.
Well, I think we're done for the course site. I'll keep going on. I'll just check. Yep. Do you guys have any questions so far? All good? All right, so just before we finish off, that's also something I have to talk to you about is your subject interact 2 sites. So what we've seen for the course site, a lot of the things will be similar in your subject sites. What is very important is your subject outline. That is the official document that contains all the information about the topics you will study, which week, so there's a study schedule, the textbook you have to buy, compulsory attendance, any lab requirements, the type of PPE, that's personal protective equipment, so that can be like shoes, lab coats, safety glasses. That document is released 2 weeks before the start of session, and that is something that you need to read as soon as it becomes available, all right? And print it off, highlight things, scribble on it, just make sure that you retain the important information. As I mentioned for the course site, announcements, read them. You will get a lot of emails and announcements coming to your emails because you'll get them for each of your subjects, your course, and then from CSU as a general. I know that's a bit of information overload, but you have to read them. In your subject interact site, you'll have resources, modules, learning content, activities. They can be renamed, so they will be called differently depending on the subjects that you're completing. But this is where you will have either your online modules or say just a plain old study guide. CSU Replay, do you guys know about Replay? This is a system we use to record our lectures. So say you have a clash between a lecture in one subject and a tutorial in the other subject. You might want to go to the tutorial because it's more interactive, and the lecture should be recorded. So then you can catch up and listen to the lecture once the day is over. All right. There will be external links on your I2 sites. It could be textbook resources, textbook companion, a link to the library so that you can access a peer-reviewed article that your lecturer wants you to read, a whole range of things. There may be quizzes that you have to complete. For example, in our chemistry subjects, we do an online lab induction via the quizzing system in I2. Okay, and then you'll have your grades, can be called My Grades, Grade Center. Again, that's something that can be renamed, and so we see it as Grade Center, but I think that you guys see it as My Grades. I just wanted to show you very quickly sites, subject sites. So to exit an I2 site, just go onto the dashboard. Okay, so here's still your course site, and then let's have a look at a subject site. So that's a subject that I teach. So you can see very similar format to the course site. Welcome, getting started, your subject outline, really important, announcements, my grades, a forum, and in that site there is not much content, and that's because it's industry placement. So really there's a bit of a manual as to what placement you should be doing, but that's about it. So what I have is, I just put a bit of a blurb, how to organize your industry experience, and then there's just a few forms that students have to use. So that's probably the simplest subject site that you can come across. Now I'm going to show you a subject site that is more complex, and where is that? Just to show you that your subject sites will be different depending on the subject that you are doing. Alright, so you can see that it's Chem 104. This is not the real Chem 104 site, it's a development site. But you can see here that straight away this looks a bit different. Alright, they're still welcome. There's links and items that have been named vital information. So if you click on that, then you see that within that vital information link, then you have another link that will take you somewhere else. All right. So if you see something written with vital information, that means you have to read it. How to study for this subject takes you to another page, opens in another page, that's good, and then tells you how to study for Chem 104. All right, so just to show you the differences depending on the subjects, and the fact that, you know, it's a really good tool, that I2 sites, but it's something that we can customize, and therefore it will look differently. All right, the study material, as I said, that will be made available to you will either be in your resources folder, modules, or learning material on I2. Most subjects are going online, and so you'll have some sort of modules, and it's all links that you click on. Some subjects will have study guides. I know for one of my subjects, I do not have modules online. I have a study guide. It's organic chemistry. There are a lot of reactions, and I haven't had time to spend the time with the complexity of putting the molecules online. Okay, some subjects will have both online modules and a study guide. Your lab manuals will be given at the beginning of the session for internal students. These students will receive it by mail. You may also receive a DVD with quick videos of lab techniques, so that you can get started and know how to perform things in the lab. You might have readings that are on eReserve. eReserve is the system that we use to put readings that are not your textbooks on the library, and you can access them directly via links. And of course, you need to buy your textbooks. So you can buy it, you know, brand new or second-hand, it doesn't matter, but you need to have your textbook, because a lot of this study material will refer to your textbook and say, read this chapter and do this activity. Okay? The prescribed textbook has to be bought, and if you do not buy it, this is your choice, but this is not our problem. It's true.
Tough luck.
Sorry.
You think the textbook's really important, then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, well, some subjects won't have a textbook, but other subjects, I know in our chemistry subjects, we have a textbook. And your textbook, you will keep them, you know, throughout the duration of your degree. And I know in second year, I refer to the first year textbook. So remember, we had a look at that in first year. Have a look at it. It's a good revision resources. You will have in your subject outline recommended text, and there's just extra resources that you may want to refer to. A textbook's a textbook, especially in chemistry. The way the information, the content will be the same in first year chemistry. It's just a different way of presenting it. So you might prefer another textbook that you find is making more sense to you, but another student might prefer the prescribed textbook. Okay, so we have a lot of these textbooks at the library. So just go have a look, see what's there. You can borrow it, photocopy stuff. All right, expectations. Gavin and Jan mentioned that, be professional, okay? You are adults, it's not high school anymore, and you have to take your responsibilities. Read the information, I think I've repeated it enough, but that's often an issue. Go to class and make the most of it, okay? Prepare for tutorials, lecture, labs. If you're having tutorials, the lecturers, you know, been organized enough to give you tutorial questions to prepare. Have a look at these questions, you know, spend the 5-10 minutes on these tutorial questions and have that you know, brainstorming to try and find the solution. Going to a tute and listening to the lecturer giving you the answer is one thing, but you'll go, oh, yeah, makes sense. But you actually haven't gone through the process of finding the answer yourself, and it is really important that you go through that process, okay? Listen to the recordings if you cannot make a lecture. Submit your assignments on time. You get penalties for submitting assignments late because we recognize that most students will submit their assignment on time. If you do not submit it on time, then that's not fair to those who submit on time. Now, if you have something happening to you, you know, exceptional circumstances, contact your lecturers. We're here to help you out and help you pass the subject, okay? And you'll get, most of the time, you'll get an extension. All right, so ask your lecturers, subject coordinators. The worst they can say is no, but if you haven't asked, then you don't know.
It's not for things like, oh, got some extra time at work tonight, I'll just take it rather than finishing my assignment. That's not an exceptional circumstance.
No, so
if
work,
ill or something like that,
yeah,
that's an exception.
yeah.
So
work does not constitute a extreme circumstance, so you just have to be organized, or maybe reduce your work hours or drop a subject. Okay. Turn up on time. If, say, you have a lecture on the other side of campus and then a practical the following hour on this side of campus, and just tell your lecturer that you will have to leave the class, say, 5 minutes early so that you can make it on time to your prac. That's okay, I've had students do that, but just that, you know, the lecturer doesn't go while I'm talking and everybody's leaving.
The lecturer should finish the lecture and to allow you that time, it should finish.
Yeah, there's 10 minutes. So lectures start at 5 past.
Just go, hey, you know, that's not fair.
Yeah, lectures start at 5 past and finish at 5 to. Some lecturers like talking a lot, and they will keep going. Yeah, like me. They'll keep going, and that's okay. You can just leave.
But if you tell them when you walk in,
yeah,
and they're prepared to try and finish to help you.
Yeah. Do not over-expect from your lectures. As much as we'll try everything to help you, you know, we're not your parents, and we're here to teach you. And so have that sense of respect and do not, you know, over-expect from us. Put the effort in. Each subject requires about 12-hour work per week, so that's a lot of work. Do your own research. Initiate and go to study groups. Work with your fellow students or study centers. Okay, just work as a group. It's good because you can exchange ideas and see whether you have understood. You know, you can explain a concept, and that person will say, "Oh, that's not what I understood. I understood it this way." And then you can, you know, talk together. I think it's really important.
One of the best ways to learn is to do what? try and teach. Try and teach your colleagues, and then you go, crap, I thought I knew that.
And that's when you can use the forums. Students are usually scared of using forums. They're actually a really good communication mean and a way for you to help your fellow students and explain a concept. And as John, so this is John Harper, by the way. As John mentioned, try and teach. So if you explain that concept, then you actually are organizing the ideas in a logical way. And that's a good way of knowing whether you've understood the concept. Contact your lecturers, but do not wait the last minute if you need help or an extension. The more warning you give us, the more we'll be accommodating. Emails are best. And if we, make the effort of trying to help you out and send you an email to let you know, acknowledge the email. It's just, professional behavior. And importantly, dedicate time for leisure. Okay, you're here to study, but don't, you also need time for yourself and spend time with your family and friends and do, go to the movies or go to the, bowling or whatever. All right, it's important for your work-life balance. All right, we will now have a presentation from each of the major and minor disciplines. Some of the disciplines could not make it today, but they have given me a bit of a blurb for you to read.